Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Crystal Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me as always is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the show in our new digs, of course, here at the Stream in Hollywood, California. This great new studio setup we got. We're so glad that you guys are joining us today for this live broadcast. We're going to be doing this live from now on. Just so you know, at 11 a.m. Los Angeles time, I believe that's 2 p.m. East Coast, Toronto, New York time. So we're so glad you're here. Let's get rolling.
We also have joining us from AMC our production manager, Mr. Dennis Sen.
Hey guys, yeah, you had to throw in Toronto in there with your Canadian roots.
Canada rules!
And we also have as a guest on our panel today the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? Mr. John Schnepp. That whole live thing. All right, let's get started. It looks like Samuel L. Jackson just let the cat out of the bag about who will be playing the new character, Scarlett Witch, in the upcoming Avengers Age of Ultron. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Jackson said the following: "I don't think we begin shooting before March of next year. I know we're shooting in London, that James Spader is Ultron and going to be the bad guy, and that we added Miss Elizabeth Olsen, who will play the Scarlet Witch. But I don't know what she's doing, if she's on the inside or the outside. I haven't seen a script." Kick-Ass star Aaron Taylor Johnson is considered by many to be a lock for the role of Scarlet Witch's brother, Quicksilver, but no official confirmation on that yet. Besides being the younger sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, Elizabeth earned a Best Actress nomination from the Broadcast Film Critic Association for her work in the film Marcy May Marlene, and can be seen starring in the upcoming films Oldboy and Godzilla. John, are you good with Elizabeth Olsen being cast as Scarlet Witch in Avengers 2?
I mean, well, let's put this in the broader term first. I still don't like that Avengers is using Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. I understand that Marvel, with those two characters, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, that Marvel and Fox have a very specific deal in place where both of them can use them. Marvel is not allowed to reference the fact that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are mutants, and they're not allowed to reference the fact that they're Magneto's kids. I don't know what the limitations are for on Fox's side. But so, I mean, I just don't like the fact Avengers has a huge catalog of characters they could have gone and they could have used. I love Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is my master now. But I do not respect and I do not like the fact that they decided to use these characters when they had so many others that they could have used. That being said, as I spill my water all over the place, that being said, hey, if you're going to get somebody, she's amazing. Elizabeth Olsen is an incredible actress. If you haven't seen MMMM, you really, really should. She is dynamite in it. A lot of people thought she should have been nominated for an Academy Award for that as well. She was incredible in that. Really looking forward to seeing her star alongside Josh Brolin in Oldboy. Dying to see her with Walter White in Godzilla. I mean, so really overall, if you're going to use this character, I like her. Dennis?
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. I haven't seen her in that much stuff, and she's done mostly independent stuff before. Now she's going to be in Oldboy, which is coming out soon, and then Godzilla, and now Avengers 2. So it seems like her career path is going towards, at least temporarily, into like these bigger budget movies. And she's a fantastic actress, so I think it's a good fit.
Schnepp?
Yeah, 4M is what I call it, or Menglis, Mambla, Fimblim, I always forget which one it is, so 4M or MMMM, yeah. She's amazing in that. That's a frightening film. And I think Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver do belong in the Avengers #2 because they were the second group of characters when it became Captain America, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. They were the Avengers after issue 10. So, they might be introing them so that in Avengers 3 or 4, when they do a switch over, when they want to get rid of Iron Man and Thor and the Hulk, they might go to the second tier, the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Don Heck version before they get, bring in the Vision.
I'm going to tell you right now, they will never get rid of Iron Man or Thor or the Hulk. They may replace the actors, but those characters are cash cows for Marvel. They will never get rid of them.
West Coast Avengers.
Well, hey, maybe they get expanded a bit.
Spin-off movie.
Hey, listen, folks, we want to make sure you know, too, before we move on to our next topic here, that since we are doing this live, you can hop into the chat area of the YouTube video and leave your comments or leave questions. At the end of the show, we're going to leave some time at the end so Chris Lee can collect some questions and comments from you guys and share them with the rest of the world. We're going to address some of your questions on air. So, yeah, I just want to make sure you guys knew about that.
I'm just going to tell you guys, I live in the camp of I don't care who they put in Avengers 2 or 3 or 4. I just can't wait for another Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Director Edgar Wright, who gave us such films as Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and the recent The World's End, just took to his Twitter account saying, "Now I'm back in LA, it's high time to finish a little something I've been working on," and gave us this picture of what is most likely Ant-Man, the Marvel film set to start Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just a few months after the release of Avengers: Age of Ultron. Dennis, are we looking at our new Ant-Man?
Yeah, definitely. That's Ant-Man. If you've seen any of the, like, even just the stills of the kind of concept footage that Edgar Wright did for Ant-Man that they showed at Comic-Con, that suit looks just like Ant-Man. We still don't know who it is, though, and that's the bigger question.
Schnapp?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's Scott Pilgrim 2, or I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that looks like the back of that Ant-Man concept suit. You can see right there, and I certainly hope he's starting to work on it. I mean, maybe they're doing some more pre-pro or more special effects tests, or maybe they're shooting the movie.
I'm going to go one step further. Not only is this the character Ant-Man, I think this is our actor. I've said for a while now, I believe they've had Ant-Man, they've known who their Ant-Man is going to be for months. And I believe, I can't back this up, I can't justify this, but I believe that this guy right here, this is our Ant-Man. Whoever is in that suit, I believe that is the actor in Ant-Man. We just don't know who it is yet. I was with Edgar Wright about a month and a half ago. He and I did a Q&A for his most recent film, The World's End. And he said, yeah, I'm going to be back in town in a couple, he said a couple months at the time, in a couple months to work on some stuff. I decided not to push the issue and ask him, is it Ant-Man? Is it Ant-Man? Who's playing Ant-Man? I didn't do that. I really should have, but I didn't. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is the guy. I'm going to go on record. I think within 2 weeks, they will announce who Ant-Man is. And I'm still keeping my fingers crossed as Nathan Fillion, but I really don't think it's going to be.
I wish
it's not going to be.
I wish
but
it was
I really
him
wish
too, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think for the next 2 weeks before they announce, they're gonna Zapruder film this thing. They're gonna be like checking out, like, oh, his arm looks like this.
There's
is
a
that
mirror.
Nathan Fillion? Yeah.
You could zoom in on this one pixel in the back, and you could see the front of Ant-Man's face.
Exactly.
All right, folks, well, listen, we've reached that part of the show called Buy and Sell. Here's how this works. Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news in front of her. She's going to run them down, and then Schnepp, Dennis, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
The first full trailer for 20th Century Fox's new film, Rio 2, is now online. Rio 2 features the returning voice talents of Anne Hathaway, Jesse Eisenberg, will.i.am, Tracy Morgan, George Lopez, and Leslie Mann. In Rio 2, we find Blue, Jewel, and their 3 kids living in perfect domesticated life in that magical city. When Jewel decides the kids need to learn to live like real birds, she insists the family venture into the Amazon. As Blue tries to fit in with his new neighbors, he worries he may lose Jewel and the kids to the call of the wild. Schnapp, buy or sell the first trailer for Rio 2?
I'm going to have to sell it simply because I spent many weeks, not months, weeks, but I guess 2 months in Rio de Janeiro, and it's like a land out of time. It looks like dinosaurs should be walking around. Like the mountains are like, Jurassic style. So, seeing birds hanging out, talking, just makes me want to throw up. I didn't see the first Rio just simply because of that.
Tell us how you really feel.
So the second Rio, animated style or not, I got to say the trailer, if you watch it, the funniest part is that Black Panther, almost vomiting out those birds singing. So that made me laugh. Something that had to do with vomit.
Dennis?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sell it as well. I didn't see the first one, but watching this trailer, I didn't think anything was funny, like Schnepp said, until the end when the bird is singing memories,
Right.
But I do understand why they're making the movie. It cost $90 million. It made like 400 something worldwide, so
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, I got to sell it too. While I did not dislike the original Rio, it lacked charm. Nothing was memorable about it. I didn't go back and watch it again at any point in time. And I don't like the trailer. Now, once again, just because it's a bad trailer doesn't mean the movie won't be awesome. It might be awesome, but if we're just talking about the trailer, I got to give it a sell.
Paramount Pictures has released the first poster for their new Jack Ryan thriller, Jack Ryan: Shadow Recruit, being directed by Thor director Kenneth Branagh. The film stars Chris Pine, Keira Knightley, Kevin Costner, and Branagh himself. Based on the Jack Ryan character, the film is a contemporary action thriller set in present day. The original story, written by David Cope, follows a young Jack as he uncovers a financial terrorist plot. John, buy or sell the poster for Jack Ryan: Shadow Recruit?
You know, it's hard for me to give an objective opinion on this because I'm just so excited to see another Jack Ryan movie. You know, I love the Jack Ryan movies. You know, even the one with Ben Affleck, which was the weakest of them, but I still thought it was really entertaining and really good. I love that character, so I'm looking forward to seeing this. I mean, it's really sad that we really should mention at this point that the author who created Jack Ryan, of course, Tom Clancy, passed away yesterday, which was really, really sad. A lot of his novels formed the basis for a lot of great video games, a lot of great books, and a lot of great movies, obviously. And it's really, really sad that we've lost him. But just talking about this poster, yeah, I like it. I think it looks cool. I'm looking forward to see Chris Pine play the role, so I'm in. I buy. Dennis?
While I think the franchise, I like the franchise as well, and I like the creative force behind this with the actors and Kenneth Branagh, I have to sell this poster. Because it's a new Jack Ryan, right? But then they don't really even show Chris Pine's face.
That's a good point.
And he's just like kind of, you know, it kind of looks generic. I think they should introduce like, hey, this is Chris Pine, he's going to be the new Jack Ryan. So that's why I
Good
sell
point, Schnepp.
I'm going to buy it. I think it's atmospheric. I think there's going to be several more posters with his face and more elements of the movie. I think this is just a, hey, check it out, we're doing a new Jack Ryan. I'm super bummed. I didn't even realize Tom Clancy died. Like, I still haven't played Splinter Cell 5. I love his Splinter Cell series. That's a video game, guys, if you haven't played it. It's amazing. So I'm going to go cry in a corner now, and I'm going to buy it also just in honor of Tom Clancy.
Right.
We've known for a while now that the upcoming sequel, Ted 2, would be released sometime in 2015, and now we know exactly when. Universal Pictures has announced that Ted 2 will be released on Friday, June 26th, 2015, in what will undoubtedly be the biggest box office summer of all time. Put it in your calendar, kids. Dennis, buy or sell Ted 2 getting a summer of 2015 release dates?
I buy it. I think, unlike Warcraft, where they moved it to the winter to avoid, I think, the big three, Ted is not directly competing with. It's an R-rated comedy. It's not directly competing with Star Wars Episode 7, Avengers 2, and Batman vs. Superman. So I think being in the summer doesn't hurt it.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, people who love the first Ted, you know, I liked all the Flash Gordon sequences. That's pretty much it. But people who love Ted are going to see Ted too, and it's a comedy. It goes against the grain of all the big summer movies. So there's tons of room for summer comedies.
I'm kind of like when we're talking about the World of Warcraft thing. I'm going to concede to you, Dennis, that you're probably right. It's probably the smart thing. But I'm still going to sell this. I thought Ted was the best comedy of 2012. I even liked it a little bit, just a tiny bit more than 21 Jump Street. I thought it was hilarious. I'm looking forward to it. But I want big spectacle movies in the summer of 2015. That's why I want Warcraft back into the summer. I want Ted in December. That's how I want it to go. I'm going to stick to that. So while I'm really looking forward to the film, to me it's a sell.
Hope everyone's listening, John. While The Amazing Spider-Man 2 hits AMC theaters everywhere on May 2nd, 2014, we just learned some details about the third Spider-Man film coming in 2016. According to reports, Sony Pictures have just signed on Alex Kurtzman, Roberto Orci, and Jeff Pinkner to write the third film. The trio are also credited for writing part 2. Kurtzman and Orci have written such films as Star Trek, Transformers, and Mission Impossible 3, and have also developed TV shows like Sleepy Hollow, Fringe, and Alias. Schnepp, buy or sell Alex Kurtzman, Roberto Orci, and Jeff Pinkner returning to write The Amazing Spider-Man 3?
For me, it's a buy. And I just want them to subtitle Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 3, F you fans. You know, it's sort of like, yeah, I guess we did Star Trek Into Darkness. I'll check it out. Spider-Man 3, what's up? I think they're fun writers. I think they have their hands on the pulse of what's fun and exciting to see in big blockbuster movies. I can't wait to see the Sinister Six. I think Paul Giamatti yesterday was talking about Spider-Man 3 and his returning role as the Rhino. So, you know, I think it's a great idea to have the guys who wrote Spider-Man 2 write Spider-Man 3 before I see it.
I buy it, even though some of their bigger blockbuster movies, you know, are hit and miss in terms of writing.
Cowboys versus aliens.
They actually have a fantastic TV writing background. In Fringe, they wrote some of the best episodes, and they were actually very serious and dramatic and deep. And having them do the second and the third one, they'll have things that are connected. So I buy it.
Yeah, I got to buy this too. I'm actually a big fan of these guys. A couple of their films notwithstanding, Cowboys versus Aliens. I really like their new show, Sleepy Hollow, that I believe they're also the producers on and showrunners for. I mean, I really liked it, shockingly, because I thought it looked like crap. So I'm all for that. I'm a big fan of the first Transformers. I really like what they've done with Star Trek, all their TV credits. And I think Schnepp, you raise a really good point. Now that they seem to be heading in the Sinister Six direction, I like the idea that they're going to get the guys they got from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and continue on with those creative forces at the same time. And I'm glad you brought up the Paul Giamatti thing. For those of you who haven't seen it, Giamatti kind of dropped some hints in an interview recently that, okay, his character doesn't have a real big role in Spider-Man 2. They're kind of saving him for 3. So I was like, oh, okay, so I guess Paul Giamatti ain't going to die in Spider-Man 2. So we know that. Yeah, so for me, this is really a good, enthusiastic buy.
The Gamer Girl 2330 says she's going to buy anything Spider-Man. That seems to be the agreement on the chat board right now.
Yeah,
anything Spider-Man, they're buying.
I know there are a number of people that did not dig the Amazing Spider-Man, but get over it. I mean, all film's subjective. Your opinion is just valid as mine. But for me, I thought the Amazing Spider-Man blew the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man away. Not as good as Sam Raimi's second Spider-Man, but I'm really looking forward to where they go with this next one. All right, folks, well, listen, there's a bunch of other items in the world of movie news that we really don't have time to get around to and discuss in depth, but we want to make sure we keep you up to date. So this is a little segment we call the News Roundup.
The first picture from the set of the new film Annie has hit the web. In the picture, we see Academy Award winner Jamie Foxx as Daddy Warbucks. Annie also stars Quivan Janae Wallace and Cameron Diaz, based on the classic Broadway musical Annie.
Production has begun on the biopic of soccer legend Pelé. The film reportedly stars Vincent D'Onofrio, Rodrigo Santoro, Diego Boneta, and Colm Meaney from Star Trek fame. Pelé tells the miraculous story of a legendary soccer player's rise to glory from a young boy to the 17-year-old player who scored the winning goal in Brazil's first ever World Cup victory in 1958. From a life full of disadvantages and an impoverished youth in Brazil, Pelé used his unorthodox yet authentic style of play and his unbeatable spirit to overcome all odds and greatness, to find greatness and inspire a country that he changed forever.
This next story contains what some may consider to be a minor spoiler, earmuffs on, for the upcoming X-Men Days of Future Past. In a recent interview, James McAvoy revealed that he and Patrick Stewart do indeed get to share some screen time in the upcoming film, but only one scene. The actor was quoted as saying, "His last day was my first day, and that was it. Then we were done, but we did cross over, and we do get a scene together."
The film company Film District is reportedly being absorbed into Focus Features. Film District distributed and co-produced such films as Insidious, Lockout, Looper, Evil Dead, Olympus Has Fallen, and several others. Film District founder and CEO Peter Schnetzel will transition to Focus Features as its new CEO as of January 2014.
Summit Entertainment has released the official IMAX poster for upcoming film Ender's Game, hitting AMC theaters on November 1st. Ender's Game stars Asia Butterfield, Harrison Ford, and Ben Kingsley.
American Reunion directors John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg have reportedly signed on to direct the upcoming Seth Rogen, Evan Green-produced comedy formerly titled Cherries. The name has since been dropped and the project is currently untitled. The story is said to revolve around a trio of fathers who learn that their respective daughters have made a collective pact to lose their virginity on prom night. Together, the hapless dads set out to prevent that from happening. And that is your news roundup. And I'm a huge hypocrite. I just believe anybody should have sex with anybody. It doesn't really matter. But when I have a daughter, man, it's 40. Minimum 40. You can go on a date with a boy. That's it. I'm a complete hypocrite, I know. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show called Mailbag. Here's how this works. If you've got a topic or a question you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every day we pull out one or two questions to address on the show. Right now, Chris Lee's got a message pulled out. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
I do. Dane Gumas writes, "So I'm a fat, wealthy man, and I can more or less afford anything in the world. I'm sick of property development and investment banking. My financial advisor is overpaid and can't say no. So in theory, and bearing in mind that I can literally afford anything, could I walk up to Joss Whedon and beat him with my checkbook until he hands over the rights to Avengers? My question is, could an ordinary person buy the rights to a blockbuster movie?"
It's a really fascinating question that when, like, we were just talking about that question around the table here, it's like, well, that's kind of a silly question, but then we realized, well, it's only silly if you kind of live in the entertainment universe, because there's a very common misconception here about movie rights and who owns them and how do you get them and all this kind of stuff. So let's clear a couple things up. First of all, Joss Whedon does not in any way, shape, or form own anything when it comes to the Avengers. But wait, a lot of people say, didn't he create it? Right? No, Joss Whedon did not create the Avengers. Did he write it? Sure, but he wrote it as a hired servant to write it, as a paid creative worker to write it. All of it still is owned by Disney, and Kevin Feige is above Joss Whedon, and Kevin Feige has 1,000 people above him. So when you hear that so-and-so directed this movie or so-and-so starred in this movie, never think for a second that they own any part of it. Dennis, you were pointing out, too, that Whedon doesn't even own Buffy.
Yeah, he created Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse and all that stuff. I think the only thing he owns is Dr. Horrible, because he did that
as a web series,
yeah,
too,
web
without
series,
a studio.
Exactly. So he doesn't even own the most popular things that he's created.
Yeah.
He's too busy making all this money on stuff he doesn't own to make a sequel to Dr. Horrible, the thing that he does own.
Yeah.
So that should tell you something.
I think as soon as he's done, though, as soon as his contract is done with Marvel, which isn't it after Avengers 2?
Possibly.
His
After
contract's
3,
done?
I think he's all part. I certainly.
I can't remember how many. I think it might have been a 3-year deal. But at any rate, whenever he's done, I'm almost willing to bet anything. The very first thing he's going to do is do another Dr. Horrible. I think he's been wanting to do that for a long time. Yeah. So, but to answer the other part of your question, yeah. I mean, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man. Where's Virgil? Anybody. If you've got, look, Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney for $3 billion. Might have been 4, but I think it was 3. Let's say 4 then. For $4 billion. Now, I'm sure it wasn't just $4 billion. I'm sure that Lucas also probably has a little thing in there. It's like, I get 3% of every dollar future Star Wars films make. It's going to end up being like a really, really big deal. But if you got a checkbook and you've got $4 or $5 billion in it, and you wanted to walk up to Mr. George Lucas, and I'm sure he would take your visit if you told his butler, I'm looking to dump $4 or $5 billion. I'm sure Lucas will sit down with you, and you want to write him a check. Guess what? You would be the new owner of Star Wars. So yeah, anybody can buy anything if the price is right. Schnepp, have you ever tried to acquire or an intellectual property, or had people try to acquire stuff from you?
The only thing I've ever tried to buy is the moon. And I talked to the people who own the moon, and I was like, look, I will give you $10 trillion for the moon. And they punted me back to Earth. That's
I guess it's not as easy as the
Weird.
movie business. All right, folks, well, listen, that's it for our regular stuff, but we're going to take a few minutes now and just interact with you, take some of the questions you're posting on the chat board for us to use on the show. Chrisley's been monitoring the chat board over there, talking to you guys. So, Chrisley, what's interesting in the chat board?
There's lots of stuff interesting going on in the chat board today, and I know this one you're going to be really excited about because more than 7 users have commented on this, and you guys have disabled my comments because you're commenting so fast, so I'm trying to go as quick as I can. But the users want to know, what are your thoughts on Idris Elba as Jon Stewart?
You know, this is an issue that we've addressed a couple of times on the show, and I'm going to say something that I know isn't going to be popular, but it's the truth, and I owe you the truth. And the truth is, no. And not because Idris Elba isn't one of the world's best actors. He is. I'll buy Idris Elba in anything. But I don't want a Jon Stewart Green Lantern. I don't want a Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. I don't want a Guy Gardner Green Lantern. I don't want Fousey McHillybilly playing Batman. There is one Green Lantern to me. The quintessential Green Lantern is Hal Jordan. That's who Green. Now, I know for a very short window in our history, there was a cartoon show that had Jon Stewart as Green Lantern. I think there was a Kyle Rayner incarnation for a while too as Green Lantern. So in the comics, there's a Guy Gardner Green Lantern. There's lots and lots of Green Lanterns. To me, though, and it's cool if you have a different opinion, that's fine. But to me, there is a quintessential Green Lantern, and that is Hal Jordan. And if you're going to continue in the movie universe, you don't go with some, short-lived, in the grand scheme of things, short-lived, some short-lived guy who's Green Lantern and Jon Stewart. You don't go with Guy Gardner. You don't go with Kyle Rayner. You go with Hal Jordan. That's who it should be. That's who it should always be. That's just the same way that when I don't want to ever see a Batman Beyond movie, besides the fact that no one's ever going to go to watch a Batman Beyond movie, the people want to see Bruce Wayne as Batman. When people hear Batman, they think Bruce Wayne. He's the quintessential Batman. Sure, other people have been Batman in the comics. You had Azrael was Batman for a while. Dick Grayson himself was Batman for a while. There have been different times, sure. But when people hear about a movie about Batman, they want Bruce Wayne. When I hear a movie about Green Lantern, I want Hal Jordan. That's just my opinion. Schnepp, would you be up for a Jon Stewart? Not talking about the Daily Show.
Sure. No. Regardless.
The Daily Show
I would
host
like
as Jon
Stewart as Jon Stewart. Now that you brought it up, in the all comedy version of Green Lantern with Jack Black in it as well, and Robert Schmeigel's got to direct it. So yeah, you know what? I would be totally down with having Jon Stewart and Idris Elba as Jon Stewart, simply because they already did the Green Lantern movie and it was, not what we wanted. It was Hal Jordan. It was a pretty bad film. Sure, you could reboot it just like the Hulk movies have been rebooted. Keep getting a new Bruce Banner until it works. Now we've got one, Mark Ruffalo, so maybe they'll do a Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo. But why not? That's what I would say. It's like with a character that a lot of people are not as familiar with, Green Lantern. Like, a lot of people know who Bruce Wayne is. If you say, who's Bruce Wayne? Oh, he's Batman.
Right.
If you said, who's Hal Jordan, be like, is he part of the One Direction? Is he one of those guys? He's doing like synchronized dancing. It's like a lot of people won't know who Hal Jordan is. So I say, why not? I'd be totally cool with it as long as Guy Gardner. I don't want to see him. So I'll call it a no at that. So.
Dennis, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not as familiar with the Green Lantern history. I know there's a bunch of different Green Lanterns. I know Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner, they were Green Lanterns at the same time. Mm-hmm. Was Jon Stewart a Green Lantern at the same time that Hal Jordan was?
Nope.
No, okay. Because otherwise I would say, okay, you could have a Hal Jordan Green Lantern movie, but he could have Idris Elba as Jon Stewart, as a side character.
But you could
like
still
that.
do that if they
you
eventually
totally
decided
could
to
do
do Justice
that,
League.
yeah.
Be like, Hal Jordan's off in Quadrant 11 with the international super guardians of the Green Lantern Corps. So Jon Stewart is on Earth as the Green Lantern of Earth.
But to answer the core element of that question, if you're going to do a Green Lantern with Jon Stewart, whether it's replacing Hal Jordan or to be alongside Hal Jordan, if you're going to do that, I'm totally down with Idris Elba playing the role.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to stick on the superhero theme, and John Schnapp just touched on this. So, Emmanuel Ribeiro and the Ginger Joker are both asking, why hasn't Marvel made a Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo in the character?
Well, we've kind of addressed this one before, too, and you know what? This is one of those situations where I had to kind of change my tune, because I was jumping up and down, where's my Hulk movie? Ah! Like, I was so angry after Avengers when I heard that there were no plans on the books for a Hulk movie. Like, what are you talking? The Hulk was the best character in the Avengers. He was amazing, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't you doing this? And then Kevin Feige, and this is a great example of why these guys make millions of dollars, and I do not. Kevin Feige raised a great point. Basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, the best parts about the Hulk were with the Hulk. Bruce Banner was a great character, but if we go to see a movie, he was suggesting, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but what Kevin Feige suggested was, it's a little tricky to make a movie around this character where really everybody just wants to see the Hulk. And understanding that we can only have that Hulk on screen probably for like 20 minutes, and the rest is going to be a Bruce Banner movie. And do we think people want that, or do we think people want a more concentrated level of Hulk and Bruce Banner in another movie like an Avengers where we can give more of the appropriate screen time to Hulk and have like a 50-50 balance between Bruce and Hulk, whereas you can't do a 50-50 balance between Bruce and Hulk in a bigger motion picture? I think that's the holdup. They're wondering, and plus they've made 2 Hulk films that have done okay, but none of them were big blockbusters. And so I think they're just kind of thinking right now, maybe using the Hulk in other team movies is maybe the way to go. I still want to see it, but I don't know what the right thing to do is. Dennis, you're in charge of Marvel. What do you do?
Yeah, they're gun shy for a good reason, because they already had 2 solo movies with him, and they did, like you said, okay, not amazing. The reception for both of them were only okay as well. I actually liked the second one, the one with Edward Norton.
And me, by the way.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Co-starring John Campea. And so I would look forward to one. I think Mark Ruffalo did a great job with the Hulk, but I do understand their reservations in terms, especially like he was great in Avengers, but he fit a certain role. So who knows what kind of story they can come up with for a solo movie. I actually really like the Hulk comic. So I think he's a very interesting character, and they can do a lot with him, but I don't know if everyone would be into it, though.
Shep.
I got a chance to see the Avengers with a guy who works at Marvel, and at that time, I was talking with him about before the movie. I was like, "So what's coming up? What are the next movies?" And he told me a bunch of the movies, and I was like, "You guys aren't going to do a Hulk movie?" He's like, "No." And at that time, when the Avengers came out, it was Guillermo del Toro was doing a Hulk TV series,
right.
and they were in active development. It had the Red Hulk and the Blue Hulk and the Green Hulk and the Rainbow Hulk. It had all the Hulks, so they're all in it. And that, as we know now, is not going to happen. That kind of fell apart. The movie came out. After the movie, Marvel and my friends started whistling a different tune. They were like, you know what? We're thinking about doing a Hulk movie. So they, I think, are going to do a Hulk movie. It's going to be Phase 3, and it's going to be integrated with Avengers characters and the other Marvel universe. as we saw in the Edward Norton Hulk, Iron Man showed up at the end. I mean, I think that's kind of the way to go with a Hulk movie, is bring all these other characters in to try to bust the Hulk, get the Hulk Buster Iron Man suit, get, all these other kinds of things. And I love the Hulk. Remember, he had a TV series for 7 years. Bill Bixby wandering around crying in the corner. Remember that? Like, he was like,
did you ever
turned
see
into
the
Hulk
TV movie with the Hulk and Thor?
Yes, and it's horrible.
It was so awesome. It was awesome. I remember laughing so much when I saw it. And then they did one with Hulk and Daredevil.
He's in a ninja suit.
Yeah, and then
Kingpin
they
had these weird, like, Terminator glasses.
Oh, yeah, with, like, I think, wasn't the dude who played Sala in Indiana Jones, didn't he play Kingpin?
With these, like, I just had eye exam glasses, like these giant black glasses and a cane. Wasn't bald. He was just, like, floated away in a weird pod at the end. I hated
All right,
those.
listen, let's take one more quick one. One more quick one.
I got a good one here, and it's not superhero related. Rig Sable wants to know, I just saw an ad for Parkland with Zac Efron and Paul Giamatti, and it's opening very soon, but it's just now that I've heard about it. What's up with the such late marketing?
Well, clearly you're not watching enough AMC Movie Talk. We've talked about Parkland a number of times. When it is a smaller film. It's a smaller film, but marketing has been out there. I think an appropriate marketing campaign for the size of film that it is. From a pop culture, talking about superheroes point of view, the most notable thing about Parkland is that Clark Kent, Tom Welling, is actually in the film. I think he's got a small role in the film as one of the Secret Service bodyguards, I think. But the film looks really
Rhino plays Zapruder.
That's right. Yeah, so Paul Giamatti's in there. It's a really good cast, as a matter of fact. I think it's a really interesting story. Zac Efron actually looks really, really good in it. So I'm curious to see how he kind of plays out in that. It's a good-looking film, and I'm curious to see it. What about you guys?
I'm really excited to see it. I think a lot of these movies that they want to bring in for Academy Award nomination, they open them soft, like only in New York or Chicago, a couple theaters, and then they open them bigger and wider. So you'll see a lot more advertisements for it probably at the end of this month as opposed to earlier.
Dennis?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think with these smaller movies or even these medium-sized movies that aren't like big budget blockbusters, there's no need for them to tease them so early, because people have short attention spans, so they're gonna forget about them anyways. But whereas something like Avengers 2, if you tease it early, it's always gonna be on people's minds. No one's gonna get like a teaser of Parkland like a year and a half ago and then remember,
Yeah.
So doing the marketing closer to the release date, I think is a smart idea.
All right, folks. Well, we have run fresh out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And listen, just a quick little thing here. We crossed the 100,000 subscriber mark the other day, so as a little celebratory thing, let's do this. Do me a favor and hop on Twitter, and let us know if you could pick one of the 4 Green Lanterns that we talked about today: Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner. Jump in there and just tweet who you would make a Green Lantern movie around, and then put in the hashtag AMC Movie Talk. So make sure you put in the hashtag AMC Movie Talk, and then in the next 24 hours, we'll pick one of those random. Guess what? We're going to send you 2 free passes to AMC, to a movie at AMC theaters. Your choice of which movie you want to go to. It'll be good for any time. So do on that. Hop on Twitter. Who would you make a Green Lantern movie around? Put in the hashtag AMC Movie Talk. I want to thank, first of all, as always, our production manager, the guy who makes everything happen for us, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, and you can find me on Facebook on just my name.
Writer, director, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
Excuse me, Dennis. You can find me on Twitter at John Schnepp.
Miss, our lovely host who's been talking to you guys on the chat board this entire show, Miss Crystal Lee Kennedy. Crystal, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Crystal Lee, and thanks for chatting. You guys have kept me very busy today.
And you can find me on social media anywhere, just at John Campea. Don't forget, folks, we are now going to be live every day starting at 11 o'clock a.m. Los Angeles time, 2 p.m. East Coast time. We're going to be here. Crystal's going to be on the chat board. Make sure you join us every single day. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. For AMC Movie News, my name's John Campea. And until next time, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.